a lot of other distinguished guests, but we have limited time, so I won't introduce everyone specifically. And let's move to the opening remarks. The first speaker is Zhimin from former United Nations and Secretary General for Economic and Social Affairs. So, please, Mr. Liu.
Good afternoon to all colleagues. So, welcome to this side event. Before I'm going to deliver remarks in Chinese, I have a prepared remarks in Chinese. Let me see if it was in English. So, welcome to the COP28 on climate change. This COP20 is a very critical session. I think since the UNFCCC entered into force in 1994, for United Nations, we are now convening a 28th session, COP, for the climate change conference. This 28 is critical, COP28 is critical because after 8 years of the adoption and signing of the Paris Agreement, the member states, state parties to the Paris Agreement will take the first round of a global stocktake on the implementation of the Paris Agreement. And actually, under this first global stocktake, many issues have been discussed. But among all these, including mitigation, including adaptation, including financing, including technology cooperation, and capacity building of developing countries, among all these issues, I think you will find since you have been here, the focus will be the global energy transition. That's why I think when I received this invitation, I say, okay, let me go there to share you with a few thoughts on how we would be prepared in supporting the global energy transition. So let me turn to my remarks in Chinese. I think for those who don't speak Chinese, you please be prepared to have your earphone to listen to the simultaneous translation interpretation in English. 各位嘉宾、女士们、先生们，大家下午好，很高兴参加这次编会，与大家共同探讨可再生能源产业合作的问题。我认为，面对全球能源转型的挑战，非常有必要在这个问题上形成更多的共识。3年新冠疫情严重阻碍了我们面对面的交流，这对于我们形成更好的互信合作局面带来了不利的影响。所以今天大家能够坐到一起能够面对面的交流，围绕全球能源转型，特别是围绕这个可再生能源的发展，因为应该是非常重要。同时，我们也看到国际热点问题的频发和国际地缘格局的紧张，也强化了能源安全问题的敏感性，在阻碍产品、技术、资金流动同时，也给应对气候变化带来了更大压力。应该说，过去全球新冠疫情3年来我们不同的地区世界不同的地区也遭受了这个能源供应以及贸易带来的对这个可再生能源的一些影响。那么在当前全球应对气候变化的过程中可再生能源产业是一个非常特殊的行业。我想大家如果你再等几天，等到这 COP28 结束的话，会看到，那么能源转型会成为这次会议的一个重点，可再生能源的进一步的发展也会成为能源转型的一个最关注点。所以说，我想，但是可再生能源如何进一步发展，我想我们需要关注几个问题。首先是可再生能源技术 是实现能源低碳发展的一个关键性技术之一。各国在国家自主贡献的目标中都将提高可再生能源比例作为低碳发展的基础。实际上，能源转型的关键就是说，如何提高可再生能源的比例，如何降低化石燃料的比例，就这个问题。这是个能源转型的过渡时期，实际上说简单了就这么简单，提高一个，降低一个。第二就是可再生能源产业，归根到底还是个能源产业，所以你们觉得好像可再生能源是一个绿色产业，但实际还是能源产业。那么它就既为我们发展，具为全球历史发展提供了能源的支撑，也可以创造就业，改善民生。所以这个作为一个产业来说，应该它还是应该我们已经看到，过去几年，就是过去近10年来，可再生能源产业为各国都创造了很多的就业。第三，可再生能源作为一个技术依赖型能源，它摆脱了资源性的束缚，让国际间的产业合作具备了更高的可行性。也就是过去如果说我们靠燃煤、燃油、燃气，那么主要是个贸易的问题、进口的问题。那个技术合作的层面是比较低的，但是要发展可再生能源产业，那是要靠很紧密的那么技术合作的问题。第四，可再生能源的利润那么实际上我们也看到，它也有脆弱的一面，也就是说它会越来越受到天气和气候的影响。所以说，在可再生能源的几个元源当中就是无论是风、光、水，都是受气候影响的。这个和煤、油、气的差别就是说，它可再生能源对它的源是受到气候影响的。那么，由于它受到气候影响，比传统的化石燃能源要大，所以也就增强了各国加强合作的必要性。因此，我们希望可再生能源和国际合作能够成为各国低碳发展的基石，也能够成为增进各国合作互信、强化互利共赢的桥梁。今天的讨论以光伏产业为突破口，探讨可再生能源，是一个很好的开端。光伏产业从诞生之初就是一个依托全球化市场运转的产业，这为产业国际化奠定了非常好的基础。中国在光伏产业这个发展的过程当中付出了很多，当然我们也收获了很多。我想我们各国朋友都会看到，10年前光伏产业、风电产业已经技术开发得很好了，但是市场不行，没有大规模的应用，那它就价格就降不下来。就过去10年，风电是这个装备的发电降了80%，光伏的发电的价格降了90%，使风电和光伏发电成为可以全球普及的2种新能源。所以我想今天我们探讨，所以说我们要看到这个好的进展。所以说中国用我们自己的制造业的能力，在11年的时间中，让光伏度电的成本降幅达90%以上，让光伏成为了各国都用得起的能源。同时，中国也创造了很多光伏应用的模式。也就是说，这个光伏的应用它是要跟其他一些技术是要配合的。那么从技术领域看，光伏水泵、光伏冰箱等技术叠加，让很多偏远地区可以直接享受到太阳能产品带来的生活便利。你们去中国看，我们的青海龙阳峡黄河上是第一个电站，龙阳峡的叫水光这个电站，把水 水力发电和光伏发电结合到一起了，成为一个世界上应该说现在最可靠的，一个是经济效益成本最好的一个光伏项目。那么从商业模式看，光伏加建筑、光伏加交通、光伏加农业，也帮助其他产业实现了更好的收益，增加了清洁能源应用的占比，为减排提供了多种解决方案。因此，我们要积极支持的光伏产业的发展。中国也不会关起门来搞产业，中国的光伏与世界的光伏是一体的。中国的可再生能源的产业是全球的可再生能源产业的一个有机组成部分。我们期待各国可再生能源产业能够建立起更强的互信，开展更为深入的合作。在此过程中中国可以分享我们在产业发展中的经验，与其他国家的可再生能源产业一起进行技术、产业、资金等多方面的合作，力争以最具性价比的投入，有效推动能源转型，帮助全球共同落实好2030可持续发展议程，实现可持续发展议程第7项目标，就是要全球各国都要用上现代的、可靠的、可再生的能源，同时为应对全球气候变化做出积极贡献。刚才大家这个主持人介绍我的时候是联合国前副秘书长，这不假。1年前我回来了，回到中国政府了。我这次来迪拜也是作为中国代表团高级顾问来的，所以我讲了很多话是出于中国政府对光伏产业的一种认可，对光伏产业的一种支持，也期待着我们光伏产业确实能够带动全球可再生能源的更好的发展。谢谢大家。
Thank you so much for the wonderful remarks by Mr. Liu. He pointed out that renewable energy, especially solar PV projects, not only supply the clean power, but also it will create a lot of job opportunities. And he also pointed out the solar plus, or the synergy of solar with other industries is very important. And also the international cooperation between China and other countries is very key to the energy transition and the climate crisis in the world. And thanks again, Mr. Liu. And let's move to next distinguished guest, Uti Collier from the IRENA, Acting Director and Knowledge Policy and Finance Center. It's your turn.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me here to speak to you. So I represent IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency. And for those of you who don't know, we are an international organization with 168 member states. And of course, China is one of our very active member states. And we are based here in the UAE in Abu Dhabi, is our headquarters, with a small office in Bonn. In our World Energy Transitions Outlook, which we publish every year, we have yet again this year shown that the 1.5 degree Paris target is still achievable, but only just. It's going to be a very challenging road ahead. We are off track in many of the indicators we have in the transition outlook. But there is a way to move forward, and one of them is to really focus in the next few years on tripling renewables and doubling down on energy efficiency, the slogan you may have seen, which we have promoted together with the COP28 presidency and the Global Renewables Alliance. So we're very pleased to see that so far I think we've had 125 countries sign up to this initiative. So to get there, of course, we will need to scale up deployment significantly, tripling, and we will require a lot of additional finance. Currently, we have about $500 billion going into, half a trillion, $486 billion US dollars going into renewables. We almost need to triple that. That's a significant challenge. But on the plus side, as many of you know, the costs of renewables have come down significantly. At IRENA, we publish an annual report on the costs of renewables, and the latest one has shown that in 2022, the global weighted average levelized cost of electricity from solar PV and wind were much lower than the cheapest fossil fuel-fired electricity. And if you look at the graph, you will see, of course, that very impressive decrease in solar costs in recent years. So how did that happen? Supply chain development was obviously absolutely crucial, and China has played a critical role in this development. I think everyone will acknowledge that. You are the leading global supplier of renewable energy technologies and a net exporter for many of them. China holds more than 60% of the world's manufacturing capacity for most manufactured technologies such as solar PV, but also wind systems and batteries. The important thing also for looking forward and this massive deployment we will require is also to think about what happens at the end of life of, say, the solar panels. Clearly, we need to think about recycling and reuse. And again, I think China has some really interesting developments there, innovation in terms of recycling, and it will, as you are such a big manufacturer, you can also play an incredibly important role in helping the world develop the recycling chain, the recycling facilities, and being part of the supply chain. So I wish you a very successful event. I'm sure we'll have very interesting insights from the other speakers. Thank you.
Many thanks for Wuti. You have mentioned a very important things. The first one is the cost reduction. Even though the cost now for renewables, especially for solar PV and wind power, is lower than the fossil fuel. However, if we take into the reuse and the recycling of the solar panels and wind turbines, maybe it is much, it will be expensive than fossil fuel. So it's very important to solve the problems of reuse and recycle of solar panels and wind turbines to solve the problem, the last mile of renewables, and to realize the life cycle environmental friendly of renewables. Thank you so much for your remarks. And let's move to next guest, Laura Kligard, Chairman of Danish Society of Engineers. Okay.
Ni hao, everyone. Hello. Yes, I practiced a little bit of hello in Chinese. As you said, I'm Laura Klitgaard. I'm the president of the Danish Association of Engineers. I've brought some slides today. I hope they'll come up on the screen. Otherwise, I'll have to improvise. Maybe I will have to improvise. I'll tell you a little bit about my organization while we wait. So, who is the Danish Association of Engineers? We existed since 1892, so it's a very old organization. We are the largest organization for STEM professionals in Denmark. We are an important voice for science in the green transition in Denmark. It's my members who carry out the green transition. We are a knowledge hub due to our members' many networks inside the organization. So that was a little bit about the organization that I come from. And now I can see that I carry on without any slides. So you'll have to bear that in mind. So what is Denmark? Denmark is a very, very small country placed in the northern part of the EU in Scandinavia. We are only 6 million people, so not many people. But we have very good conditions, especially for wind. But actually, we also have a lot of solar power in Denmark. The Danish energy system combines public and private entities with the government setting policy goals and regulations, while market players handle energy services and the infrastructure. Government involvement extends to supporting research, development, innovation, and international cooperation in the energy sector. Key public actors in this include the Danish Energy Agency. They are responsible for implementing an energy policy, and we have something called Energy Net, which is the national transmission system, an operator for electricity and natural gas. So we are very reliant on this Energy Net. In Denmark, we have a high-performing national electricity grid. The Danish energy system is globally recognized for its efficiency and also for its sustainability, boasting a substantial share of renewable energy and low carbon intensity. In 2022, wind power and solar cell energy production increased by 22%, accounting for more than 60% of the Danish electricity supply. So over half of our electricity is already renewable. A standout feature is the extensive use of district heating, covering around 64% of Danish households. This involves distributing hot water or steam through insulated pipes for space heating and hot water in buildings. District heating relies on combined heat and power plants, using diverse fuels like biomass, waste, natural gas, and coal. These power plants efficiently produce both electricity and heat. The flexibility of district heating allows integration of renewable sources like solar, thermal, geothermal, or heat pumps, along with utilizing excess heat from industry or power generation. Renewable energy and a reliable energy system is a possibility. The security of electricity supply in Denmark today is just over 99.99%, corresponding to an average consumer not having electricity for around 40 minutes a year. Seen over a long period of years, the vast majority of interruption in electricity supply are only caused by the local electricity grid. Oh, and I see one of my slides here. So maybe we can skip ahead, if this works. Yes, that's who we are, I told you. That's where Denmark is, the little red dot. And this is our electricity net, the energy net, which supplies all of Denmark. So this is actually where I made it to, so welcome to my slides. So, what are our goals in Denmark? The Climate Act ensures that Denmark works to reduce greenhouse gases and emissions by 70% in 2030, compared to the 1990 levels, and towards a net zero by 2050. The Climate Act is legally binding. On concrete level, Denmark is aiming at quadrupling onshore wind and solar before 2030, and tripling offshore wind. We have a lot of wind in Denmark. That's actually it for me. So, thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for Laura. He introduced a lot of information about Denmark in the renewable energy field. And our next distinguished guest is Mr. Zhenguo from Longi Green Energy Technology Company. And he is also the president unit leader of China New Energy Chamber of Commerce.
Good afternoon，尊敬的这个郑民秘书长，大家下午好。隆基呢是目前全球最大的光伏制造企业，也是电解槽，就是氢能电解槽制造的企业。我们十分自豪呢，就是在过去这个10几年的时间，我们通过不断的技术创新和这个推动了光伏行业快速的技术进步和成本降低。那么今天呢，光伏已经在全球绝大多数国家和地区成为当地最便宜的电力能源，所以在这个方面呢，我们是十分自豪的。我可以告诉大家一个十分有趣的数字，就是我们从矿石经过这个工业硅、多晶硅、拉棒、切片、电池组件以及生产组件的玻璃和铝边框，我们生产1瓦组件呢是0.4度电，但是这1瓦组件在它的生命周期里面呢，发出的电量是45度电，它通过太阳光呢有100多倍的放大能力，这一点上来说呢，是大家真正让光伏兼顾了我们所谓的能源不可能三角，就是能源的公平性、能源的独立性、安全性和可持续发展性，其实它基本上实现了这种结果。那么今天呢，中国的光伏制造呢占全球达到了80%的水平。虽然这0.4度电呢，跟它发出的电相比，45度电相比是很少的，但是呢，生产巨量的光伏产品，它的消耗总量是很大的。举个例子，2023年，这个中国会生产超过400吉瓦的光伏组件，那么它总体上就要消耗1600亿度电，相当于20座核电站发出的电量。那么这些电力消耗、能耗被计入到中国，碳排放指标也被计入到中国，但是呢，它支持了全球的能源转型和碳中和目标的一种实现。所以从这个角度上来说，中国光伏产业是为全球的我们讲的能源转型做出贡献的。当然，我们也十分关切到，今天有很多国家和地区，他们也考虑到能源的独立、安全，甚至本地化制造能够带来的一些就业，所以他希望这种产业也在当地进行制造。那么当然也有些国家出了十分激进的针对本地化制造的一些鼓励政策，我们也十分理解。同时呢，隆基我们也愿意配合做这些工作。所以今天呢，隆基我们有8万员工，其中有12000海外员工。我们在马来西亚和越南有比较大的光伏制造产能。我们在美国一个巨型的这个组件制造厂，在明年的1季度就开始投产。同时呢，我们在考察中东、欧洲以及世界上其他的地区的一些生产要素，来看他们是不是符合光伏制造。当然后面的氢能的制造我们也会去做。这就是我们现在做的事情，我给大家汇报一下。当然补充2点，第一点呢， 隆基我们通过把光伏不断的降低它的成本，来支持能源转型，生产更多的产品，来支持到我们的碳中和目标的快速实现，这是我们的本职工作。当然我们在生产它的时候，我们也尽可能用绿电进行，用绿色能源生产清洁能源。所以我们在2018年曾经提过一个 Solar for Solar， 在第24届 COP24 的时候，我们提过这个理念。当然，我们在推动我们的供应链进行绿色发展，我们已经举行了3届绿色供应链发展大会，隆基我们内部的。第2点上来讲呢，就是光有绿色的电力可能还不够，在碳中和的场景下，仍然有1/3的场景，它终端是需要用其他能源形式、非电的其他能源形式来解决的。所以说，我认为绿电加绿氢这2种方式的一个组合，才能真正形成未来碳中和目标的一个实现。所以，隆基我们从2018年开始介入氢能产业，从2021年成立隆基氢能公司，也为全球提供电解槽这种服务。我今天就简单给大家汇报这一些。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome you to come to our headquarters, Qian. You know the territorial area city. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Mr. Li. As he mentioned, only Longi is the largest solar producer in the world. Longi has made a lot of contribution to the renewable energy development in the world. And he stressed Longi not only belongs to China, but also belongs to the world. And our last speaker from this session is Cao Renxian, the chairman of Zhenguo Power Supply Company. And he is also the chairman of China Photovoltaic Industry Association. Now, please.
女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家好！很高兴今天能够在线上和大家见面。在此，我谨代表中国光伏行业协会和阳光电源，对本次会议的召开表示热烈祝贺。应对气候变化和促进能源转型，一直是大家关心的重点问题。本次第28届联合国气候变化大会谱写了各国加强能源合作、推进低碳转型的新序曲。过去20年来，光伏行业通过不断的技术进步和创新，使光伏发电成本快速下降。光伏已经在全球绝大多数的国家和地区成为最经济的清洁能源，在全球绿色低碳转型中发挥了重要作用。中国作为光伏制造大国，为全球能源转型和可持续发展做出了贡献。本次气候大会的东道主阿联酋作为清洁能源转型的领军者，无论是在政策制定、资源投入还是具体项目实施上，都彰显了在实现可持续能源目标方面的坚强决心。阳光电源有幸作为中东地区能源转型的助力者之一，提供光伏加储能一站式解决方案。目前在中东地区累计应用超过10吉瓦。各位朋友，应对气候变化和推动能源转型，我们还有很长的一段路要走。不同的国家和地区对于推动绿色发展、共同应对气候变化有着不同的期待和承诺，需要我们一路携手共进，在光伏等新能源领域开展更加广泛的交流与合作。前不久，中国国家主席习近平提出了中国支持高质量共建“一带一路”的8项行动，其中一项就是中国将 持续深化绿色基建、绿色能源、绿色交通等领域合作，建设光伏产业对话交流机制。在此，我真诚邀请各界朋友共同参与，强化全球光伏行业交流，共同推动技术进步和创新，形成更好的产业互信和合作，实现全球更加低成本、更加高效的可持续发展。中国光伏行业协会也将携手广大光伏企业和会员单位，加强企业供应链碳排放约束和管理，努力践行气候目标，提升企业 ESG 管理水平。希望在今天的会议上，与会嘉宾畅所欲言，共话美好发展新未来，共谱全球光伏合作新篇章。预祝本次大会取得圆满成功。谢谢大家。
Thank you so much for the wonderful remarks by Mr. Tao. And let's move to the keynote speech. The topic is about the status and outlook of global solar PV industry cooperation. And the speaker is Louisa Damilola, Head of Energy Transition Research of Bloomberg New Energy Finance.
Can I have the clicker, please? Hi, I'm Louisa Damilola. I'm Global Head of Energy Transitions at Bloomberg NEF. And for those, thank you so much, that are not familiar with us, we are a strategic research provider looking at the future of commodity markets, as well as the disruptive technologies that are driving the transition to a low-carbon economy. We have hundreds of experts from all over the world looking at specific sectors, technologies, and teams. And today, I will share some highlights that I hope can support the later conversations of research and data produced by our solar teams around the world. I think to start with, it's important to highlight that the solar industry is growing very rapidly. That has been true for the past few decades, but this is especially true over the past couple of years. Between 2021 and 2022, capacity addition of solar have grown 38% around the world. And we estimate that between end year 2022 and end year 2023, it's going to grow 64%. This is the highest jump that we have ever recorded. A lot of that, as we all know, will be added in China. And we expect a not as dramatic, but a consistent growth rate of about 11% on average every year to 2030. Of course, as we all know, this growth is being driven by prices that have, over the years, come down really dramatically and now have achieved an experience curve of about 35%. What is important to know is that things are actually looking very good for solar right now, especially if we compare to other sectors. So on the solar side, we have been seeing prices at a global level crashing in 2023, and while solar prices are falling, storage and wind remain elevated and are not expected to change much in the very short term. It's also important to highlight the role of new technologies. TOPCon specifically is scaling up really fast and made up over 20% of the additions in 2022. We expect this technology to dominate the market by 2025 and to replace the previous technologies that we are all familiar with. What is interesting to note here is how much the market changes from more efficient technology to more efficient technologies. And this is especially true if we know that the previous technology only became mainstream in 2019, and it's already shifting to newer ones. This is also true when we look at the capacity for cell manufacturers of the new technologies, where TOPCon represents 192 gigawatts compared to just marginally a lot less in other technologies. The efficiency of solar modules has also steadily kept increasing, and we forecast it to continue increasing even further, not only in the short term, but all the way to 2050. And of course, better and cheaper modules mean cheaper solar projects, and this is extremely important to the transition to a low carbon economy. However, what is interesting to note here is the role and the weight that models are having in the total capex of renewable energy projects and how much that has been reducing over the years, which is what you can see in blue in this chart. This is especially important when we talk about the localizing value chains and what it means to the total project cost. And it's also important to note that while the models were the main concern in terms of reducing the cost of the technologies in the past years, now EPC, land, and grid connection, for example, were taking more weight. And also this is where we're seeing a lot more of the bottlenecks in recent days. One more recent trend that's part of what we're here to talk about today that has the potential to shift the numbers that I spoke about before is the international competition to supply chains that has been speeding up over recent years. We're seeing more and more countries imposing different types of barriers. This includes tariff duties, local content, and carbon footprint requirements, among others. Those have been spreading all over the world in different forms, but it has been growing to more and more countries almost every month. And why this has the potential to shift the trends that I showed? Because protectionist measures often come at a higher cost to the energy transition, and this is no different for solar technologies. What we see, for example, is if we compare the average module spot price, what we see is that the average at a global level is half of the price of the one in India and a third of the price of the one in the US. And this is also true for manufacturing. So when we look at the cost of building a manufacturing solar plant in China, what we see is that this is a fourth of the price to build one in Europe and the US, and that has a very direct impact on the cost of the project and the technology as well. With this in mind, and with the goal of tripling renewable, reaching net zero by 2050, that will require technologies to be scaled up fast in a just way and in a low-cost way. I'm really looking forward to the conversations about how to ensure that collaboration can really make sure that the world and all countries move fast to the goals that we need to achieve to ensure net zero by 2050. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for Louisa, and he brings us the latest news about the solar PV. And now the keynote speech session is over, and then we will move to next session about the high-level dialogue. And the moderator will be Mr. Sun Xiansheng. He is the specially invited deputy chairman of the Chinese Renewable Energy Industries Association, also the chairman of the International Society for Energy Transition Studies. Now it's your time, Mr. Sun.
Thank you very much. Now let's come to the dialogue for next panel. The high-level dialogue, the subject of next stage is deepening industry communication, strengthening international cooperation, and promote solar PV industry development for a sustainable future. For this panel, we have an introduction speaker, and she's Mr. Zheng Shaojun. He's a subject for the speech is the development of a solar PV industry and how it can be more contributive to a sustainable future. Now the floor is Mr. Zheng. Now please.
Thank you, Sun. For a Chinese, English speaker is a challenge, but in the UN's conference, I will try my best to speak in English for you. Dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very happy to meet you here in Dubai to attend the side event on industry cooperation to build a foundation for energy and low carbon development. On behalf of China New Energy Chamber of Commerce and all the organizers, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and warm welcome. Currently, in the context of global response to climate change and driven by global net zero emission goal, countries across the world have begun competing for renewable energy goals, and global renewable energy has achieved record growth. As one of the fastest growing renewable energy sources, solar power generation plays an important role in achieving the global goal of net zero emissions. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency's forecast, in the scenario where the world achieves net zero carbon emission in 2050, global solar installed capacity need to exceed 18 billion kilowatts. This predict shows that solar power generation will become an important part of the global energy system in the future. Meanwhile, geopolitical tensions, supply chain bottlenecks, inflation, and microeconomic headwinds have also brought new uncertainties to the global energy market. The development of solar industry presents both opportunities and challenges. China's solar power generation installed capacity has ranked first in the world for 8 consecutive years, making an important contribution to reducing the cost of the key global renewable energy technologies and playing a pivotal role in the global energy transformation. As China promotes the gradual transition from control of total amount and intensity of energy consumption to control of total amount and intensity of carbon emission, and the further promotes the green transition of energy, the low carbon development of the solar industry itself is particularly important. In this context, it is of greater political significance for us to discuss the development and the sustainable future of solar industry. Enterprises throughout the solar industry shall join hands and work together to make multiple measures to promote carbon neutrality at the operation level, low carbon transformation of the value chain, and decarbonization of the industry chain to jointly create a global, sustainable, ecological environment. China New Energy Chamber of Commerce is a professional industry organization for new energy in China. It currently has more than 1,500 members, covering various fields of the new energy, of which members in the solar field account for about 40%. It has also established 2 different professional committees on solar, to promote industry development by holding activities such as forum, exhibitions, and solar, as well as providing advice, organizing international events, conducting industry exchanges, and promoting the formulation of industry stands. We are willing to work with all of you to constantly promote the low carbon and sustainable development of solar power industry and work for a better tomorrow for mankind. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Mr. Zheng, very excellent speech. Now we come to the panel discussions because the time is very limited. Because this room is like the fixed time, and means that by time we have to finish and we have to move out, and then the next meeting will come in. So we will ask all the speakers, please control time. Now I'd like to invite all these panelists come to the floor. Now, please. Yeah. Mr. Zhang Xiaohua, Danny Qian, Meng Lianhai Lai, Zhu Yingtang, Ophelia Botan, and Wang Yang. Yeah, please. Okay, now let's start. The first speaker is Mr. Fabi Tomiwa, Executive Director of Institute of Essential Service Reform. His speech is online. Now, please, Okay, now we will listen to him. Yeah. Okay, the floor yours, please.
Thank you, Mr. Sun, and thank you for having me to this event, and greeting from Jakarta, Indonesia. I was in the COP until a few days ago, and I've returned to Indonesia. Regarding the questions, what would be the role of industry association and financial institution in promoting the international cooperation to diversify the solar PV industry? I look from the three factors. First, that with a tripling renewable energy goal that current couple of government already support, that solar will play even bigger role than previous one. Second, if you look at Southeast Asia region, also in Indonesia, at least from IRENA study last year indicated by 2030 that Southeast Asia could build around 240 to 150 gigawatt of solar PV. And this number also can be increased as a number of ASEAN countries already work toward updating their net zero emission plans. As Indonesia also, we have updated our net zero emission plan, and the solar PV become a big backbone. And the third one, I think, is also look at the because globally solar PV become very strategic commodities, and as also mentioned in the by the previous speakers, that every country now would like to build their supply chain to secure their own demand and put a number of regulation. For instance, local content regulation. That's also my government. It's very, very strong. So what would be the role of industry association in supporting this? First, I think it's very clear that in particular in renewable energy industry in China is also very, very strong. So I see at least there are three roles that it could play. First is that working to advocate for the common goals. And in this, I see that industrial association acts a powerful advocate for shared goals with the solar PV industry by bringing together manufacturer, developer, and other stakeholder. And this association create a unified voice that can influence policymaker, fostering an environment conducive for cross-border cooperation, include in the international space. So second, which I see is very, very important, is that information exchange and knowledge sharing. Industrial associations serve as a platform for information exchange and knowledge sharing among the members. And also, this kind of collaborative approach enables countries outside China also to access valuable insight, best practice, and technology advancement in the solar PV sectors. The third, which I think very important also, is that facilitating technology transfer. In this case, industrial associations are instrumental in facilitating the transfer of solar PV technology across border by creating a platform for the technology showcase, also having joint venture and collaborative research project with industry in other country. And this association enable the seamless exchange of innovative solution. And for the financial institution, I see that there's three key role. First, it's it's facilitating cross-border investment, and because the solar PV industry expansion requires substantial investment in manufacturing facilities, infrastructure, and project development. And in this case, financial institution can act as facilitator by providing loans, grants, and other financial instruments that encourage cross-border investment. Second, risk mitigation and insurance services. We know that solar PV industry often involve substantial risks, in particular in emerging market. And financial institution can play a crucial role in mitigating this risk by providing insurance service and financial instrument that protect investment and project developers from unforeseen challenges. And the last one, which also which is very important, is that promoting policy harmonization. In this case, financial institution can leverage their influence to encourage policy harmonization among countries. And by working closely with government and international organizations, and financial institutions can advocate for supportive policies that promote a conducive environment for solar PV industry. And this also includes standardizing regulation, streamlining permitting process, and establishing clear framework for cross-border collaborations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fabi. And I think your speech is very instructive, and especially mentioned that the cross-border cooperation, and also the institution is the platform for the technology transfer, and also for investment and a facilitator for the policies. I think all these are very helpful for further discussions. Now let's come to the second speaker, Mr. Zhang Xiaohua. Now, Mr. Zhang Xiaohua's the subject is how to promote international cooperation in the renewable industry chain through ESG. Because time-wise, so everybody will use within 5 minutes. Now the floor yours, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sun, for the introduction. And it's really a great pleasure for me to join this conversation. I actually, from the Climate Work Foundation, we are a philanthropy foundation, provide funding to support the climate action globally. I think this is a really important topic, and when we worked across the different continents, like in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in China, we see this importance of international cooperation on renewable industry in accelerating the clean energy transition in different countries, particularly with a great achievement in China on renewable energy. I think there's a really increasing interest how for this African country, the Southeast country to work more closely with China's renewable industry. So that's our perspective. We really see the importance of this enhancing the international cooperation on renewable industry for this global efforts to address climate change. Actually, I'm not an ESG expert. I think many colleagues here maybe know more about the ESG actually, but I can share some my reflection how this ESG can help to enhance this international cooperation on renewable industry, because we also see there's increasing momentum, I think, globally how the ESG can help not only the help of the industry, but also build the increasing momentum to address this environment sustainability issue. I think ESG now we see it's become kind of, I would say, a common language for this business to go for this green and low carbon development. If, from my perspective, the competitive advantage of the company is your product, but I think the ESG more or less reflect the quality of your company, because through this disclosure of the information, basically the public, the community know more about your company, and they have more confidence whether they're going to invest in you or whether they will really align with your product. I think there are some statistics you probably all know. There's according to the McKinsey, the companies that are leading in this ESG will gain additional 10% to 20% of growth opportunity, and 5% or 10% of the cost reduction. That's really, I think, demonstrates the importance of the ESG in help this, how you promote your renewable industry generally. I think more specifically, I think there's probably three aspects I want to share with you how the ESG can promote the international cooperation in the renewable industry collaboration. Like, I think first the ESG management and the disclosure can add value to the renewable enterprise by providing traceable non-financial information that can really impact the business sustainability. Yeah, we know that a lot of actually the leading company in China has a lot of practices in this regard. I think with the importance of the ESG investment in this commercial market, I think this really demonstrates how the ESG can add value for this international collaboration. The second, I think ESG management can also standardize the renewable supply chain, and as a common language can set the standards for corporate behavior and to drive the innovation in the entire process and the change in the corporate actions. For some leading companies in the renewable supply chain, such as some of the Chinese leading PV manufacturers, they do have the ability to influence the established standards, and thereby promoting the adoption of a common language throughout the supply chain to operate in a higher standards. From our observation, like the leading renewable companies, such as Longi, such as Goodwin, they already actively participating in this exercise. And thirdly, I think the ESG can really promote the resilience of the renewable supply chain. For the enterprise in the renewable supply chain, regardless which link they are in, they all hope to build a resilient supply chain to cope with the various risks and fluctuations, and a really reliable supply chain will inevitably bring more capital investment. But we all know, on the other hand, we see that ESG is still in this initial early stage, and really there's more to be done to make the ESG really help the drive the low carbon development pathway. I think the renewable industry as really the green industry should play a leading role in help to develop this ESG standard for renewable industry and therefore further enhance the international cooperation in this regard. And as a philanthropy foundation, we are really keen to make our contribution to work with all these colleagues to make this happen. Yeah, thank you very much.
John, and I think talk about a very important issue for the ESG and for the environment, for the social, and also for the governance of the company, and especially during this the energy transition and climate change issues. Now we come to another speaker. This is Ms. Danny Qian. She is the Global Vice President of Zhenguo Solar, and her question is, how do PV companies carry out ESG? And what experience do you have and to share with us? Now the floor is yours.
I'm from Zhenguo Solar, as the world's largest solar module producer. We are the world's first solar company that reached a milestone of 200 gigawatt solar panel delivered, which means one of every 8 panels installed in the earth is made by Zhenguo Solar, and one of every carbon dioxide is reduced is contributed by a single Chinese company. And record high sales of 75 gigawatts, making us #1 again for the 5th time, and for 25 times we broke the world record of cell efficiency. And thanks to our advanced technology and economies of scale and manufacturing excellence, we constantly created the record low power price. In 2016, we quoted 2.42 cents per kilowatt hour for 1.70 gigawatt solar power project in Abu Dhabi, creating the world's lowest electricity price. And in 2020, we quoted 1.32 cents for 2.2 solar projects, the largest single projects in the world to be connected now. And the latest price we offered in Saudi Arabia is only 1 cent per kilowatt hour. So making solar not only the cleanest, but also the cheapest, the most accessible and affordable energy source to all is the biggest ESG of our company. Furthermore, we want to be a responsible company, and not only in our business, but also in our operation. So in 2019, we are the first renewable company that joined RE100 and EP100, committing 100% powered by the renewables by the year 2028. Currently, our RE percentage increased from 13% in 2019 to 54% by the year 2022. It's a remarkable growth, and actually it's the industry highest. Considering our capacity expansion, our current capacity is 6 times of that in 2019. In addition, now we have 12 factories. 3 are certified as RE100 factory, green factory, and 1 is zero carbon factory. And we have established a 1 gigawatt vertical integrated zero carbon production line. And all our hundreds of our suppliers along our supply chain follow our steps to transit from fossil fuel to green electricity. And if you want me to introduce some experience how we achieve that, 54%, considering our capacity is 100 gigawatt. And I can share some of you that install all your facilities and rooftops with solar and maximize its usage if possible to plus the solar plus storage. And secondly is we built up our new factories or relocate our factories in renewable rich regions, which is easier to access to green power. And as complementary, we purchase some green power through PPA or trade market or green certificate. And also we invested, directly invested some solar power projects. Now we have over 400 solar power projects in 22 countries, and on-site or off-site. So with a total capacity close to 10 gigawatts. Yeah, that's some experience can be shared with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Danny, to share with this. We can see that your company's business development together with the ESG improvement. Okay, thank you very much. Now we come to Mr. Meng Ling Lai, the Vice President of Zhenguo Power Supplies Photovoltaic and Storage Business Group, and the President of OC, the Strategic Key Account Center. Now, his question is the trends of ESG of solar PV companies. Now the floor is yours, please.
Thanks a lot, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, it's quite a big topic about ESG trend. So if we're talking about a trend, we should know where it is from. I mean, from the traditional business, I will say orientation or strategy. Business is chasing for the profit, chasing for the revenue, chasing for extension, your roadmap, extension, your geography. That's the business, old school business. But why now we have more benchmarks or restrictions for the business? We call that ESG. It's due to our common interest as human beings, common interest. So that for every single independent enterprise, you cannot just only chase the numbers. You should know what you're doing. You should make contributions to the society, to the environment. So that's why I think it's the ESG requirement from. So if we talk about ESG, it's basically environment, society, and governance. I will say that we're thinking in 4 aspects. First is the environment protection and carbon neutrality. Second is, I think it should be the sustainable supply chain. Then we go to, I think it's social responsibility and community engagement. Also the governments, the last one is governments and transparency. Okay, so maybe I can elaborate a little bit about from one by one, but especially for the first one is the carbon neutrality. Because recently, I heard the most topics from our top level, our founder actually, when we were having internal meetings as well as with our clients or cooperations externally, it takes a lot part from the ESG part. So basically 3 most important topics from highest level is I would say technology innovation as our gene, and ESG as a big trend we have to follow, we have to lead. Then we go to the business strategy. Okay, so it's actually at the same level as the very crucial strategy of our company now. So we're talking about let's say climate change and carbon neutrality. Actually, we will talk about the carbon neutrality. We promised that we will reach the carbon neutrality by 2028. Now, if we take the example of last year, 2022, we already reached 45% of the energy we consume is from the green energy. So by 2028, we will commit reach it scope 1 and 2 of carbon neutrality. So how we do that, right? You need a path to do that. Basically three ways. The first is that we try our best to produce more energy from solar, wind, this kind of renewable energy generation to cover a big part of our consumption. The second one is that we purchase the green energy. Also the third one is that we purchase the green certificates. So by these 3 passes, in 3 means, we have the confidence to reach the carbon neutrality by 2028. So basically, it's quite near to us, 5 years. There's challenges, but I think we strongly think we can make it. But in terms, let's say that next one is the sustainable supply chain. If we talk about that topic, it's related to the scope 3. I would like personally say that scope 3 is kind of ambiguous now, because like I think in different ways you calculate, track it, like you can get different ideas. But what we do is that we're mapping our suppliers, you know, until the mineral like end. So like in that way, like we want our suppliers to grow with us together on that aspect to reach the ESG requirement, to support us in the mid-term future, to also like be compliant with scope 3. Let's go to the next one, so social response.
Because time is limited.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you very much. I think your speech is very good. And also you make that the carbon neutrality for your company for 2028. I think it's a big, impressive progress. And I don't want to use more time to comments, and maybe later on we can discuss. Because by time, we have to move out. So sorry for that. Yeah.
On part. So
okay, thank you very much. Now we come to the, Now we come to the next speaker, Mr. Zhu Yingtang, and Vice President of AMEA Power. His question is, what are the main factors that should be considered to promote the cooperation in the renewable energy industry chain? Now time, everybody only, how many, 3 minutes? Yeah, only 3 minutes now. Originally, they are 5 minutes. Now, from you, only 3 minutes. Thank you.
Giving a lot of pressure to me. Thank you, Mr. Sun, and thank you for the invitation from the China Renewable Energy Industry Association. I'm Zhu Yingtang from AMEA Power, in charge of project development, EPC, and the supply chain management from AMEA Power. And we are Dubai-based developers, and mainly doing renewable only project development for Africa, Middle East, and Asia. As of today, we have 2 gigawatts, mainly in Africa and under construction, and we have another 5 gigawatts in our pipeline. Again, all these projects are renewable, solar, wind, battery storage, and green power driven hydrogen and desalination. Talking about supply chain, we have extensive cooperation with the solar industry supply chain. Many of them from China. I believe they are the association member, and many of them sitting here today, including Zhenguo, Longi, Zhenguo. So I come back to the subject, the question. I have 3 factors from my point of view. First one is LCOE, because we are in this business and we are the private developers. So we need to give in the most competitive tariff to the off-taker. Most of them are the government-backed utility company. So the LCOE, which must be affordable to us and also affordable to the customer. For example, I think it mainly comes from 2 aspects. One is higher efficient products, including the panels, including the inverters, including the trackers. These 3 are the key components of solar PV projects, and also a lower production cost, which we have altogether witnessed a lot of effort, especially in the past few years from all the key players in the market. We see the module price, we see the inverter and tracker price has come down significantly. The second factor will be the bankability of the key suppliers in the supply chain. For example, Bloomberg, they have the tier 1 module supplier, which usually we only consider tier 1 module supplier in our supply chain. And we also encourage the key manufacturers, especially for the key components, to closely work with international community to increase their bankability in our projects. Because the banks, they are the biggest investor in our projects. And they raised the project finance to most of our projects. And the last one will be the ESG. We have many expertise here to talk about ESG, so I just give one real case study at project level. We are now doing the first utility scale projects in Tunisia, the 100 megawatt solar PV projects. So in these projects, we select Longi as the module supplier. So we have a joint program to do the ESG on the ground. So we supplied rooftop modules to the schools in Kairouan, which is the project location, to the local schools, and we're trying to provide the green power to the local communities. And we also start to share the concept of green energy with the local people. So that's what we're trying to do with our suppliers, and that's my views I would like to share today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhu. Very good speech. Now we come to the next speaker, Mr. Ofuri Bolton, CEO of the Strategy Security Systems. And his question is, how should region strengthen the cooperation in the solar PV industry chains? The floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much. All right, well, I probably don't need a whole lot of 3 minutes. But, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and also to talk a little bit about a few things that can be done in the solar manufacturing industry. My company back in 2007 delved into standalone systems. Then later on in 2016, we decided to start producing solar panels in Accra, Ghana. A few of the challenges that we realized in being able to do so is just simple accessibility to polysilicon and ingot manufacturers. I think in order for the industry to really truly expand, there has to be a little bit more inclusion when it comes to production of polysilicon and also ingot manufacturing. What you do realize is that the lack of inclusion into other markets is making it a bit challenging. At times, we could also kind of take a chapter out of the book of fossil fuels to understand a few things. At the moment today, you find production of oil barrels in pretty much everywhere, every continent, and in most countries. In the same exact way, the production of solar panels and the production of cells needs to be expanded and needs to be a little bit more accessible to other parts geographically. The other thing about investment and also ESG, I think the aspect of ESG that we tend to forget that is very critical and important is inclusion. Inclusion hasn't really gone into the ends that it ought to go. My view is, as we include and also we involve Africa a little bit more, we can get it all done. One thing that I would love for you to know and understand is that the raw materials for production of solar cells are found everywhere, not just in Europe or in China or in Americas, but also in Africa. If we're able to tap into that and expand it and make it accessible and available to all, that could also help the industry to expand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ofuri. I think you control time. You are the excellent, the best one. And if yeah, you earn this the applause. Now let's come to the last one, Mr. Zhai Yubo, who replaced the Mr. Wang Yang. He's the subject. Is how can international cooperation in the renewable energy industry chain and digitalization of the renewable energy work together to promote energy transition. Please, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Yubo Zhai, and on behalf of Ms. Wang Yang to join this session, and very happy to meet you here. I think it's safe to say that China now has the most sophisticated industrial chain in new energy sectors, so covering the whole production, producers from the raw material, auto parts, all the way to finished vehicles. And at the same time, China is also the world's largest base for electrical vehicle in manufacturing and the market. So I think this altogether could serve as a strong supply support as well as large-scale advantages, leading to improvements in product competitiveness and profit margin. And this could be manifested by a wide range of rankings. We are the global #1 in terms of the energy consumption, sales of vehicles, EV stocks, and all other sales, etc. So with such a solid foundation, we achieved the question of how we could utilize it well and to the full extent then stands out. So I think the core of this answer lies on digitalization. Reason why it's so crucial is that, and I think we'll all need to answer that digitalization is both a tool by itself and an approach by the whole picture. So to elaborate on this, let's break it down on 3 perspectives. So for the end users, because for us, we developed the largest EV charging networks by us in China. So we think end user service is quite important. So digitalization as a tool in that it carries information that helps to bring better services and experiences. And for supply chain side, digitalization could serve as both tool and approach in that connection, that data and technology breakdown, that barriers, and then cultivated mutual trust between parties, between the suppliers, the customers, etc., and in the interest to a globalized green finance. And finally, for the communities, we think digitalization sides and approach, no problem, I will finish it, don't worry. So to guarantee not only a profitable return on investment, that say from other side also brings back a better social economic value. So and there are already some established practices. So let's say the Belt and Road initiatives and the Global South projects. So I think it's worth to be mentioned that these projects themselves are clusters of nations and regions geographically. Therefore, digitalization, we think, approach among the nations should be addressed and conducted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Because of time limitation, so we have to conclude this panel. I really appreciate all these panelists. They give the excellent speech and also questions. We invite all of you to give them a warm applause. At the same time, I'd like to thank Zhenguo, Mr. Meng, all this small gift from this company. Now, please join me to thank them. 谢谢你们啊，好。